Alright, it's time to get some stitching done, and as per request, I'm using white thread. This is 1mm flat braid polyester. Good stuff. Now what I want to do is start a few holes back. I'm going to start at the 4th hole, stitch that away, and then back stitch this away. Not because I think the thread needs to be doubled over, but because I want this joint to be held together strongly. I don't want it to pull apart when the gun's pushed in. So on my way out, let's make sure these are even. Okay. This needle's going in first. Get that snug in. This one's going on top. And then the second needle goes over top of the first stitch. Give it a little tug, make sure I didn't pierce the thread, and pull it tight. I didn't mean to drop the needle. Okay, we'll go up to the end here, do the same thing. And make sure we pull that good and snug. Now we're coming back towards ourselves. It's going to be a little bit stiffer because I'm shoving it through a hole that already has thread in it. Second needle goes on top, but this time I'm going to turn it over and put the second stitch underneath. What that does is it keeps the angle of those threads consistent, which is really important if you're using a contrasting color, because it really stands out and you want a consistent angle and a consistent stitch. Otherwise it just looks sloppy. Pull that through, give it a good snug, there we go, and continue on down. Ooh, that is stiff. Well, okay, that's good. It's just getting kind of snug in there. Now what that'll do is help to ensure that this end of the seam stays together and it stays strong. Okay, since I'm coming toward myself, the second stitch is going underneath the first. Now also what I'm going to do is continue the stitch line, but then instead of bringing it around here and up there, I'm going to end my stitch line where I think the least amount of stress is, which is right along here. So I'm going to come along here, go this way, that away, and then back up this way. Actually, I'm going to end it right here. And that'll give the maximum amount of strength here, here, and here. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'll show y'all what I'm doing when I get back. Alright, I'm almost to the end of my stitch line here. And then I'm going to start my back stitch. Now when I'm stitching away from me, the second stitch goes over top of the first one. See how that's looking so far. No, that's looking pretty good. I'll show you all what I'm talking about in a second. Now when I'm stitching back towards myself, the second stitch goes under the first. That's my wife being helping hands. And that helps to follow the angle of that thread. And again, I'll show you what I'm talking about when it's done. But like I said, if you're using a contrasting thread, it's very important that it look good. Because if I'm making something out of leather, it needs to be functional, and it still needs to look good. Okay, I'm going to do one more stitch after this. And that'll be plenty. I mean, I could go all the way down back stitching, but you know, I think I'll do that. I think that'll look better. Yeah, I'll back stitch this whole section. How many times you back stitch? A few. I usually try to go at least 3 or 4. It depends. Like this one is going way past 3 or 4 just because I want to fill in that whole space. And like I said, I think it'll look better that way. Okay, I'm going to do just one more after this. And then this one will go through here. And that'll be it for my back stitch. Yeah, that looks good. Cut these off. Leaving about that much. So I'll just burn them with my lighter. And there we go, there's your stitch line. You can see on here the angle I was talking about and keeping it consistent in both directions. Both here, on here, and these all line up as well. And like I said, especially since it's a contrasting color, it's very important that it look good. Anyway, we're going to keep working on this thing. Yeah, that's holding nicely. And we'll be back.